Hi, in the last lesson, we covered the concept of operators, and moving into this lesson, we will start to talk about process flows. What is a process flow? It is nothing more than a visual representation of the steps that your program would take, and is generally controlled using conditional statements. So this is where our operators come in. What exactly is a condition? A simple example of a condition could be based on your grades. So if most of you don't know yet, in Singapore Poly, if you score more than or equal to 80, your grade is equal to an A. If your score is more than equal to 70, your grade equals to B. Otherwise, your grade equals to C. So that is where our operators, which are comparators, start to come in when we need to compare or check whether the score is more than or equal to 80. However, before we even start coding, we first need to take a look at whether we are able to code the process flow, or rather draw the process flow. So in the next slide, we see what a process flow looks like. So for the problem earlier, we always start with the top left hand corner, and before we go through this process flow, just to remember that whenever you see a diamond, that is where you need to make a decision. So an example of a decision is whether score is more than or equal to 80 or not. If score is more than or equal to 80, then grade equals to an A. If not, then we check something else. So these are what diamond shapes are used for. Next, we look at what rectangles are used for. Rectangles are states that represent something that is happening, and they are part of the process flow regardless of whether a decision is made or not. So there's only one distinction. If the particular box is a decision, you use a diamond shape. If it is not a decision, then use a rectangle. So starting on the top left hand corner, we first need to obtain the score in some way. It can be a user input or it can be a file input. So once we obtain one student's score, we then check whether this score is more than or equal to 80. If it is more than or equal to 80, then the grade assigned to this student is an A. However, if it is not more than equal to 80, then we need to make a second check. So the next check is whether the score is more than equal to 70. If it is, then grade B. If it is not, then grade C. One thing to note about this process flow is that the moment somebody, for example, scores 90, and he actually, because his score is more than or equal to 80, we immediately assign the grade as A. It no longer goes to the second diamond shape. So this second diamond shape has become redundant. We only go to the second diamond if this student did not score an A. So this is a very simple process flow of what we call students, or how we assign a grade to a student for a particular module. For beginners such as yourselves, I would recommend or strongly recommend that before you start coding, try to draw out this process flow to ensure that you are clear about the steps you need to take to reach the intended outcome. If you start coding without having this visual representation in mind, more often than not, you will get lost and you won't be able to reach your outcome. So this serves as a milestone where you can actually check with either your tutor or your friend whether your concept of the problem or your suggested solution is workable. Thereafter, once you have the process flow in place, coding it becomes much easier. So we will see how we can translate this process flow into code in the next video. See you. Thanks.